This week, we had the fortune of having a great conversation with Mike Koenigs. He's a friend of mine that I met through some entrepreneurial groups, and we're in strategic coach together, and we met and got to know each other better in with the Optimized group at a couple Mexico retreats. And I really liked the conversation Mike had because he was very truthful, raw, and honest about everything that's occurred to him. And what really I got a lot of respect for in this case is how self-reflective and honest he is with himself, and then figure that out, come up with a new way to change it or make it better and move forward. Does he have a lot of regrets? I'm sure he does. But it's no longer holding him back. And that's something that I just learned recently about 2 years ago, as I got to letting go of that past and regret and just move forward. It's a lesson. What did we learn? How can we make it better? And let's move forward. So I think there's quite a few things that Mike shared with his ADHD journey that's very reflective, and I know it's going to sit well with you or sit with you on the conversation, and that's a little bit known fact of hyperactivity. Either if you're not a physically hyperactive ADHD brain, it's more about rumination. Your brain goes 10 times faster. Even though the physically hyperactive ADHD brain has a brain that goes a million miles an hour, but we also have a hyperactivity, a physicality. We need to constantly be moving. And that's what he said, that in his childhood, he had to be constantly moving and doing something. And he converted that into making money. He started to hustle. In a way, I did that as a kid, but I understand what he was saying about having the constant need to move. And even now, as a hyperactive adult, I need to be constantly in motion and moving, and that requires travel for work, physically moving, not just, one spot here walking or moving on a treadmill. It's not the same thing. I have to physically have a distance change, a location change for that to happen. And the one thing that really got me understood here is, what a weird way of saying that, but the one thing that he did say that got me thinking and recollecting is his lack of focus made him curious. He tinkered a lot. He experimented. He took things apart. That's all stuff we did. And I think as an ADHD brain, that's a very important thing to do. I think our lack of focus makes us more curious. It allows us to be curious so we don't get hung up on one thing or start seeing things differently. I do think since our brain takes everything in unfiltered, we have to go through all that stuff, and it makes us more curious how these unrelated dots get connected somehow. And, I don't know about you, but I took a lot of stuff apart to the point of, I figured out how it works. No interest anymore to go put it back together at the frustration of my dad, my teachers, neighbors, or whatnot. But an infinite curiosity is definitely a trait of a growth mindset ADHD entrepreneur. Okay. Now, the one thing our ADHD brain needs is a constant need of stimulation. And it doesn't matter what kind of stimulation. It may be good, it can be bad. It just needs to be stimulated. And having that understanding helps you go down the right track. So having this constant need for stimulation also creates anxiety and challenges with relationships and emotional regulation. And Mike shared quite a few examples, some true, authentic, real examples of the emotional regulations and challenges with relationship, but that has a lot to do with our brain requiring a constant need for stimulation, okay? Now, this is another thing. So part of my ADHD structure at the top is environment control, and Mike really explained, unprovoked, how he was fortunate that he was in the right, lovable, positive environment for him to pursue his hustles, he called cutting lawns, doing whatever at a young age, and to keep his stimulation on the right side of the law and on a positive note, because he even admitted that if he didn't have that support, he might be in jail or he'd be in severe trouble. So having the right environment to support your ADHD strengths is so important, so we can manage them, not let them run rampant and become a disorder or a weakness in that case. So he really exemplified being in the right environment is key, even when you don't know it. Because I know if I was in a different environment as a kid, I'd probably be in a different situation right now, not even needing to know ADHD brain or not. It's just the environment is so important. It's supportive or it's not supportive. Or if you get even just, you can have the most loving, supportive parents, but if you end up being with a bad crowd of people and then your ADHD goes uncontrolled, well, that's when you get into trouble, arrested, jail time, and whatnot. So when you are in the right environment, your ADHD strengths can make you successful, and it is possible. Is there lots of bumps on the road and big potholes that you're going to fall in and fall out? Of course there is, but I don't think that's anymore. Maybe we'll just fall harder in these potholes, but in the end, we all have challenges. So the right environment, our constant need for stimulation, let's make sure that's going towards the curious, to tinker, to experiment, and to find out good things and hustle. And for him, Mike, his big thing was him making money was his focus. To keep himself busy and occupied, he needed to find ways to add value to people to make money. Now, I had a little bit of his mindset around finances is part of it. He said he shared in a story that the one thing he didn't want to do is be like his parents, where he could not afford stuff. So there's a little bit of influence there, but in the end, his overarching message is get to know thyself and create a successful environment with the right people around you to be successful. So I thank Mike Koenigs a great deal for his open, raw, and honest conversation. Very genuine. There's no bullshit in it. And he really explained the challenges that he had and was able to convert it, again, because he was in the right environment or he had a very supportive environment at the correct time. Now, having that said, you can still find and create that environment to be supported now and to have a better future. So it doesn't matter when or how in the past, you can start this now. So thanks again for listening and learning with me. And I'd like to know your thoughts about this conversation I had with Mike Koenigs. You can email me at André@impulsivethinker.com. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And if there's anything similar with this story that would make you see that it's possible, or it's possible to grow more, not just be where you're at. So thanks again for listening and learning with me. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.